Everybody, we're going to move on with moving victims. Be sure you're taking notes, and we will look at getting everything. You have lecture 5, lecture 6, lecture 7, and then we'll have another test. So just be sure that you that you're taking good notes and that you're reviewing them, okay? But our main focus today is moving victims. And moving victims can be very challenging at times depending on where they are, what their location is. So once again, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but we want to be sure that if we have to move a victim, it's because it's absolutely necessary for their safety, for if they need, because they need to be moved onto their side into the rescue position because we have to be careful why we're moving them. We only move them if we have to. And remember, unless they are in imminent danger, unless they are at risk of death, we do not move victims who we consider potentially having a head or neck injury. So exceptions to moving the victim before treatment. If there's a fire, if they're in the middle of the road, if they're in water and may drown, and we're by ourselves and we need just to get them out of the area. If there's hazardous material, gas, if there is any other kind of toxic hazardous material, maybe there's a vehicle accident and there's a truck that has hazardous material in it, gas, diesel, things like that. In those cases, we're going to move that. Victim. Otherwise, if they are not in immediate danger, we want to try to leave them where they are. So we're going to talk about different kinds of rescues and different kinds of moving, because generally one person, it's tough to move one person by yourself. Sometimes we have to. We go under the shoulders. We cup under the shoulders with our elbow and we'll drag, or if we can get them onto a blanket, especially if there's a rough surface or there's open, and we can protect their head using a blanket roll under the neck to keep the neck stabilized. We do try to do that if possible. Sometimes we don't have that available, and so we have to just move them, cupping our shoulders under the neck. Cupping our elbows under the shoulder and then moving them, dragging the victim. This is something you want to do. Once again, this particular move is only if someone is in imminent danger, and if we left them as is, they would be likely to die as opposed to maybe having some increased paralysis. So we only do a one-person victim if we absolutely have to. We can do an ankle drag. And sometimes patients can help us. They may be able, like if they have a broken leg, we can support them on one side and get them out of the way. However, if we have to drag a victim, we only want to pull them as quickly and as short of a distance as possible, because we want to be sure that we're not doing more damage if possible. Carrying a victim, that's also something that's a one-person carry. Fireman's carry is basically lifting them over their shoulder, wrapping their arm around your neck, and to secure them with and wrapping your arm around their legs. Now, you have to be aware of the size of the person, where their location is. I could not do a fireman's carry on someone who is on the ground. I'm not physically able. I'm short. If it was a child, sure I could. If it was probably someone under 110, 120 pounds, I probably could do the fireman's carry from the ground up. But we have to be aware of what we're capable of, because the last thing you want to do is to pick someone up in the fireman's carry and realize that they're too heavy, and then you fall and they hit their head again as well. So Fireman's carry is one of the ways that we can a one-person carry. We can also carry them kind of, I call it the backpack carry, but it's called the pack strap carry because you are gonna, if someone is in a chair or in a kind of a semi-sitting situation, you could wrap their arms over your shoulders, stand and lean forward and carry them. Other than a blanket roll, this one is fairly safe because most of the time you're going to have to turn their head, but you can, if their head is turned one direction or the other, lots of times you can keep their neck steady if you're careful with how you move. Oops, sorry. Two-person carries. Now, these are much more safe, whether it's a two-person assisted to walk because of one or both leg injuries, where their shoulders are not injured, and you can carry them in that manner. That's a good way to move a victim. The two-handed seat carry, you will see that a lot of times. Firemen do this a lot, EMTs, when they have someone who is chair-bound or who has some kind of multiple or real difficulty walking along with a leg injury. Basically, you make a chair out of your arms, two people, one behind the knees, and then each one of you wrap one arm around her waist, crossing over, and the victim can put their arm over their shoulder, and you can walk with them much easier. Your field of vision is not skewed. And the victim is also upright. This is really good also if someone is having cardiac issues, if they have passed out and you have to go downstairs or go a long distance to get them help. This fatigues the carriers much less than a one-person carry. Once again, you can see another form of that for the four-handed grip, which is when there's no equipment, this is the easiest way to get them up, especially if they're awake and alert. If this person is not awake and alert, you cannot do the four-handed grip because you are not supporting their back. The chair, the one previous, if they are not completely alert and oriented or have the potential of passing out again, you can still support them in that manner. This way, if the person just has a leg injury and you need to get them all out of the area, this is one good way to carry them if they are awake and alert. You cannot use the four-handed grip if someone is not awake and alert. Chair carry is exactly what you're seeing. It's you and another person carrying them in a chair. So you tilt the chair back, it supports their head, and then you move together. Now, the only danger in this one is the person who's walking backwards has a poor field of vision. So the person walking forward has to be sure that they are not only communicating with the victim, but they're also communicating with their partner who's helping with the carry. That's another thing to remember. In all of these situations, please explain to your victim what is going on, what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, and what they can expect. Because if someone is injured, they're already scared anyway, and so you want to be sure that they understand what you're going to do. Also, if they understand, they're more likely to be relaxed and not cause more force against you. The two-handed grip extremity carry basically is a hammock carry. You need to have 3 to 6 people on alternating sides, and they link their hands together basically to make a hammock while they're laying flat. The two-handed extremity grip, also we're going to look at some of these here in a minute, but just know these are some examples of 2- and 3-person carries. Things to remember for sure when moving a victim. You want to immobilize or protect whatever's injured before you move them. That means if you need to splint a leg, splint the leg. If you need to splint a foot, splint a foot. If you need to secure their neck, be sure that you do your best to secure their neck before you move them. Be sure that your feet are shoulder width apart when you're moving them to support your back, and that you use your legs as much as possible, because your legs can definitely withstand much more weight to carry than your arms. Be sure that you are keeping your shoulders and your hips aligned, your back straight while you're moving them, so that you don't injure yourself along the way. Just be sure that you use your legs appropriately. If you move with your back, you're going to injure your back and be in trouble. Be sure that when you move, you do a counting motion with, especially if it's a partner move or the victim is going to be helping you. 1, 2, 3, move. Let them know that's what you're going to do ahead of time. Be sure that they know when to help you. Either you're the victim or your partners. So that it's a smooth motion, not uneven, not with an increased risk of dropping the victim. Also, the biggest thing, like I said earlier, when we're talking about that fireman's carry, know your physical capabilities. Know what you can lift. Don't try to lift someone who, if you're 100 pounds, you're not going to be able to do a fireman's carry on someone who's 225 pounds. Or if you're 5 foot tall like me, you're not likely to be able to do a fireman's lift on someone who's 6'4". So just know your capabilities and make sure that not only is your victim safe, but you're safe as well. Because if you're injured or you're not safe, you are not capable of helping your victim. Now you're both injured and you both need help. Okay, we're going to talk about water rescue, and then we're going to look at some videos of both of those, of moving victims and of water rescues, just so you're capable, so you know what that really looks like. And just remember that drowning is the third leading cause of accidental deaths. So water rescues are very important. I'll tell you, water rescues are important to me. I don't know how to swim. I'm almost 50 and I've never learned to swim. So I would not be someone who necessarily could rescue someone other than a small child in a shallow amount of water. What you want to do is you want to be sure that you don't become the next victim. Be sure that you can get the victim to safety without drowning yourself. The principles of attempting a water rescue. So if you can do the reach technique, that's usually great. That keeps you out of the water. It keeps you safe as the rescuer, and also can help the victim get out. So you want a lightweight pole. In a swimming pool, a lot of times there'll be the skimmer on a pole. That's a great thing to try to get someone out of the water with. If you need to get a long branch, a rope, anything like that to help them, that will get out to the victim that they can get a hold of and you can pull them in. Be sure that your footing is secure before you reach out to the victim. If you're going to reach your arm out, be sure that they're not going to pull you in the water with them. And be sure if there's anybody near you, say you have to lay down and put the top part of your body out towards a pool or water to reach someone. If there's someone near, have them hold on to your ankles. Have them hold on to your legs, not your shoes, but your ankles or your knees. Have them be there to hold on to you while you reach out to the victim. Because in a water instance, if someone is drowning, they are panicked. And they will drown you if you are not careful, because they're trying to climb over you to get out of the water, because they just are panicked and don't know necessarily what they're doing. So you have to be really careful with a water rescue. Once again, if you're going to throw something out to them, a floaty, a life jacket, some kind of float cushion, a rope, plastic jugs on a rope, anything, just be sure that you account for current if it's in a lake, or that you know that you can get it out to them. When you have to pull a victim in this way, be sure that you plant your feet firmly. If you can sit down and plant your feet, say you're on the bank of a pond, you can dig your feet in, sit down, and then you have more kind of dig yourself in to help pull them out, or that you have a good secure ability to back yourself up so that you're not pulled into the water. If you're going to row out to a victim, if they're beyond your reach and you're in some type of boat where you have to row, or you have a trolling motor or something like that, be sure that you understand that if you're going to have anything other than a floaty towards them, that you need to get that out to them. Also, even though it's slower to do a paddle and an oar, it is safer than a motor-driven boat because victims can be pulled under the motor. So you want to be sure that if you have something to get out to them, it's not the boat is going to stop and it's not going to pull out past them. Also, think about things like the current of the water. Is it going to pull the victim away from you? Is it going to pull you on downstream or potentially pull you out of the boat? Are you near any kind of rapids or anything like that? So be sure that you're aware of your surroundings and things that could hurt you. Is it, temperature of the water? When there have been flooding, you've seen victims rescuers become victims because of the rate of the current. Because water's rolling one direction. So just be sure that you're kind of aware of your surroundings and what could cause you more damage. The go attempt, that's an assessment that must be made by the rescuer, weighing the risk or the reward to the victim. Should you go or should you wait for someone who is more skilled? Going out into the water to attempt a rescue should be basically a last attempt or a last resort. If you can do it from the bank, if you can throw something out to them, anything that you can do without putting you in the water is the safest thing for you as the rescuer. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes we have to swim out to people, or we have to go out to people in another manner to help them. Just know your capabilities, know your surroundings, understand the environment that you're putting yourself in so that you are safe. After a water rescue, you want to be sure you protect yourself and the victim against cold, against any or heat, either one, depending on what's going on. Be prepared to do CPR. Be prepared that they have got their lungs are full of water, and you got to get that water out of them and work that away. Be aware that they may have injuries, neck injuries. They may have lacerations. They may have bleeding, and you may not be as aware of it until you get them out of the water. So be sure that as soon as possible, even hopefully before you get in the water, you've called 911. But also be sure that when you get them out of the water, you're letting 911 know what's going on with that victim. That they're not breathing, or that they have a large cut, or they have some pretty substantial bleeding. They have a head injury. You want to be sure that you're aware of what's going on with that victim once you get them out of the water. Ice rescues. Now this is another issue. We don't have it too much here in this part of the country, but it does happen in other areas. If you're going to attempt to rescue someone out of the ice, we want to reach to a victim with an object. We do not want to necessarily. We don't want to put ourselves into that cold water or into that increase the risk for hypothermia, because then you also become the victim. If there are people aware, be sure that you understand how thick the ice is, and you do basically a human chain, which is ankle to feet, or ankle to hand to ankle, to try to get someone out of the water. But like I said, got to be sure that you know what the water or what the ice is capable of holding. Remember that victim is going to need warmth immediately. So warming blankets, whatever you have, wrap them up. Do whatever you can to get them warm. Remove cold and wet clothing. Cover them with warm blankets. Cover them with additional clothing, whatever you have available. And then get them help immediately. They're going to need to get warmed up fast. In the emergency room, and also in most ambulances, they have warmed IV fluids. They'll even give them not just warm blankets, but we'll give them warmed IV fluids to bring that body temperature back up. But just remember, like with everything else, you've got to keep yourself safe, because if you're not safe, then you're not capable of helping anyone else. Okay, we're going to stop here. We will pick up tomorrow with drugs, alcohol, and poisoning, and that'll end our first aid part, and then we're going to start CPR Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. and that will finish us out for spring break. So I'm going to have a couple of additional videos for you guys to watch on caries, and then you should be good to go.